Oh. 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 Satchidanandarupaya Vishvotpatyadihetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Numaha. Janmadyasya yatonvayaditarataschaarteshvabhignaswarat Tene Brahmahradaya Adi Kavaye Muhyanti Yatsurayaha Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Mrisha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi Dharma Projita Kaita Votra Paramo Nirmat Saranam Satam Vedyam Vastavamatra Vastu Shivadam Tapat Trayon Mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamunikrite Kim Va Parerishwaraha Sadyo Hridyavarudyate Trakritibihi Shushrushubistatchana. Invoke toughness. In doing so, you evoke hope. The time that we're living in is demanding more hope than ever. Hari Om, and greetings from Niagara Falls. How long did the Rasa Leela last? How long did the Rasa Leela last? This is not our pariksha, okay? Some have shared it's still going on. Technically, the Rasa Leela lasted one Brahma Ratra, which means one night of the Creator. For us, in terms of humans, this is thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Imagine how many steps all of those gopis got dancing for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Their Fitbits broke. More personally, the Rasa Leela is known as a Nitya Rasa. Rasa means joy. Nitya means perpetual. When we have one purushartha in life, one purpose in life, that is moksha, when you are free, how long do you think that will last? Perpetually. One lets go of all limits of space and time and matter. In a more relative sense, when you feel purnatva, when you feel complete, you become unconcerned with time. Agreed. I'm happy. What difference does it make if it's day or night or raining or not raining? I share all of this. In Kali Yuga, the age of speed, the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam become more potent. We need this now more than ever. Reviewing past classes. When Bhagavan Krishna left Nandagrama and went to Mathura, he missed Devi Yashoda, Srinanda, the Gopas, the Gopis. However, he never grieved for them. He missed them, but never grieved for them. And what this shows, he's living exactly what he teaches in Bhagavad Gita. What will be lovely for all of us who are part of our Meaningful Mornings culture, the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 11, will begin on Maharama Jayanti. Just magically, it's going to work out like that. And the teaching is, Na anushochanti panditaha. Panditaha, those who are wise. Those who live Vedanta, na anushochanti, they do not grieve. If you think of all of the people in your life that have come and gone, of course you miss them. But when we grieve, we fail to follow and further our dharma. And that's what Bhagavan shows. Throughout his life, when he moves from here to here to here, dharma is more important than any manava. Prince Arjuna has forgotten that. That's why he's collapsing. Bhagavatam is trying to help us to remember that. Once Bhagavan Krishna asks Sri Nanda to return to Nandagrama, and Bhagavan Krishna's biological parents, as if biological parents, Vasudeva and Devaki, they facilitate his 11th samskara, which is Upanayana. One's focus should be developing their head and heart, not pleasure. Bhagavan learns 64 sciences in 64 days and then offers dakshina. This is the 12th samskara, known as samavartana. As if Bhagavan is transformed and is expressing gratitude for this, what does he do? He makes the impossible possible. He brings back a jiva that has died back to life. Only kripa, Bhagavan's kripa, can make the impossible possible. Rishi Sandipani and his wife, the Guru Patni, their son is brought back as dakshina. How to internalize this class, this portion of Bhagavatam? You commit to that which is noble. Blindly, recklessly commit. In this commitment, you will observe he, as in Bhagavan, is the one who will fulfill your commitment. And you know why he'll do that? So that you realize you are the instrument, not the doer. In your commitment, whose name is going to be there? Yours is, correct? But being reflective, you know he's the one who's fulfilling that commitment. Recently, someone had asked me, who is your favorite character from Ramayana? And I shared, to me, there's no separation of characters in Ramayana. the typical answer will be Bhagwan Rama or Hanumanji, but to me, they're not different. For the sake of answering the question, I shared Sri Lakshmana. He was most clear that he is number 2, that Bhagwan is number 1. And with such clarity, he lived with conviction and confidence. Yes? We never came across Prince Arjuna with a lack of conviction or a lack of confidence. Others were intimidated by his conviction and confidence, correct? We continue. The 10th skanda. And sometimes when I use the Sanskrit, I think some of you get confused. I want to remind you, I've been using the same terminology for 102 classes. You have heard me say these words at least 250 times. What is the English word for skanda? Someone try to define skanda in English. Not chapter. All of you are still confused. Volume, sort of. Canto, is canto an English word? Or that's another, it is an English word? It sounds so Hindi and Sanskrit, no? Like tortoise or tortoise. It doesn't sound like it's like an English word. Section. I define skanda as section. Next, 46th adhyaya. Tell me the English word for adhyaya. Chapter. 21st shloka. English word for shloka? Verse. Section, chapter, verse. 10, 46, 21. And this is Rishi Shuka describing to Raja Parikshita what Sri Nanda, that is Bhagwan Krishna's foster father, is saying to Uddhava, who is I'll describe soon, someone who loves Bhagwan. Okay? Smaratam Krishna Viryani Leela Panga Nirikshitam Hasitam Bhashitam Changa Sarvana Shitilah Kriyaha. Srinanda says to Sri Uddhava, Smaratam Krishna Viryani. Uddhava, you are like Sri Krishna. Seeing you, Smaratam, we remember. Remember what? Leela Panga Nirikshitam, how Bhagwan, how our son used to look at us. Hasitam, Bhashitam, how he used to laugh, how he used to talk. Cha, etc. Sarvana Shitila Kriyaha, as we remember him, all of our work has slowed down. All that we're doing has become less important. Okay, this is the translation. I'll explain what is being shared here. After Bhagwan Krishna and Sri Balarama completed their time at Rishi Sandipini's ashram, they came back to Mathura. And the people in Mathura missed them. And when Bhagwan came back, he was missing the people in Vrindavana. He was missing them. He knew that they were missing him, but he had work to do. Imagine how much destruction would have happened in Mathura due to a corrupt leader like Kamsa. Think of the world now. Just think of Syria. How much rework, rebuilding would be needed. So he called Uddhava. Uddhava is Bhagwan Krishna's family member. He is also Bhagwan Krishna's minister. Family relationship, political relationship. He is also Rishi Brahaspati's disciple. So he's knowledgeable. He's not a common person. He's an advanced seeker. Okay? He calls Uddhava and he shares with him, I feel that you're like me. And so I want you to go to Vrindavana and I want you to share my message with my parents, with the gopis, with the gopas. Some commentators call Uddhava as Bhagwan's Utsava Murti. For those who have been to Chinmaya Dhara, we have a Achala Murti, which means an icon that doesn't move. That's at our altar, those bigger, heavier icons that don't move. Everyone's clear about that. But in front of them, we have what are known as Utsava Murtis or Chala Murtis. These are the ones that we pour water onto. These are the ones that we bring to people's homes if they are having a puja at their home. So now Bhagwan has to stay in Mathura, so Uddhava becomes his Chala Murti. Clear? Okay. Uddhava, when Bhagwan gives him these instructions, he questions Bhagwan. Why do you miss these village women so much? He's questioning Bhagwan and has that sentiment. I'm your family member, I'm a minister, I'm a disciple. These are village women. And he also questions the gopis. Do they know who you are? They milk cows and they do this and they do that. And maybe they're just attracted to you. So he questions Bhagwan. And Bhagwan, he knows this questioning is happening. This is another reason why he sent Uddhava. For his own swasti. For him to learn what the gopis are, who the gopis are. So Uddhava leaves. He leaves Mathura. He arrives into Nandagrama. And there's such lovely descriptions. He gets there when the sun is setting. Everyone visualize this. And all of the cows have come back from the jungle. And there's so many cows that the dirt from the ground has come into the air. There's dust everywhere. So all is quite hazy. And Uddhava finds Shri Nanda's home, and Shri Nanda welcomes him and cares for him so much, feeding him, encouraging him to rest. Shri Nanda asks Uddhava, how is everyone in Mathura? How is our Krishna? And then Shri Nanda listens as Uddhava is speaking. And as he's speaking about Bhagwan Krishna, he becomes silent. Shri Nanda just can't say anything. And beside him is Devi Yashoda, and the entire time she's sobbing. He's silent, she's sobbing, hearing about Bhagwan Krishna, Shri Balarama. Sensing how much they miss Bhagwan Krishna, Uddhava starts to teach them Brahma Vidya, starts to give them jnana, and says, and these are lovely insights, Bhagwan Krishna is the Purusha, and Shri Balarama is the Prakriti. We rarely hear that sentiment, but he says Shri Balarama is Prakriti, and it is Purusha that pervades Prakriti, and Prakriti pervades all. Implying that Bhagwan Krishna and Shri Balarama are still with you. That's his implication, and it's true. Do we all feel like that? We love to throw the terminology around, Brahman is all pervading. Do you feel that? He continues and says, Bhagwan has no karma. And so what is he doing? he's engaged in krida, which we commonly refer to as lila. He's playing. In his play, sometimes he's here, sometimes he's there. He's just playing. Do you feel that with the people coming in and out of your life? Some come, some go. And one more insight. He shares one who is struggling with Brahma. Brahma means delusion. They feel they are causing the world to spin. Imagine, the world is moving thousands of kilometers a second. Vivek is the one who's causing the world to spin. The more I spin, the more the world will spin. And he shares, people have that same sense of doership with their own experiences. Again, implying to Sri Nanda and Devi Yashoda, you feel that you deserve Bhagavan Krishna. You're the doer, you deserve him. So he's sharing all of this jnana, and it's really void of bhakti. A lot of jnana, but void of bhakti, because Uddhava, he's a jnani. He's focusing on moksha, but is missing that bhakti. That's why he questioned Bhagavan, questions the gopis. This is why Bhagavan sends him to Vrindavana to learn about bhakti. This dialogue goes late into the night, then morning time comes. And the gopis all wake up. And I'm going to read this to you specifically. But the main thoughts are, the gopis wake up to greet the sun. Did you greet the sun this morning? The sun disturbs us in bed. We're to greet the sun. And then they start to work. And while they're working, what are they doing? Singing. The sound of churning mingled with the loud voices of the gopis singing about the deeds and excellences of Krishna spread throughout the air, reaching up to the heavens, thus warding off all that is inauspicious from the four quarters. And what they sing is famously known as Brahmara Gita. Brahmara Gita. I'm going to chant the verse and then I'll review all of the Gitas that we've flowed through. 10:47:11. Section 10, chapter 47, verse 11. We were in chapter 46, now we're in chapter 47. Kachin madukaram drishtva dhyayanti Krishna sangamam priya prastapitam dutam kalpayitvedam abravit. One of the gopis saw a madukara, saw a bee. Then dhyayanti Krishna sangamam, and seeing this bee, she started to contemplate on Bhagavan Krishna. When we see a bee, what do? Kill it. Fight or flight. She went into contemplation. Priya prastapitam dutam, she felt that Bhagavan Krishna had sent this bee to her as his messenger. Kalpayitvedam, and thinking like this, abravit, she started to speak, she started to sing. This is why this section is called Brahmara Gita. Brahmara means the one who wanders, referring to a bee. A bee is called a Brahmara. So listen carefully as I review this with you. The first Gita that is in reference to the gopis was in chapter 21. This was Venu Gita, where the gopis felt jealous in a sattvic way about Bhagavan Krishna's flute. Everyone remembers that. The next was in the 29th chapter, Pranaya Gita. This is where Bhagavan Krishna told the gopis, go back home. And they supplicated him, saying, you are our only relationship. You are our home. Next was in the 31st chapter, which is Gopi Gita. When the supplication didn't work, they started feeling they are Bhagavan Krishna. Remember, they were holding each other's arms, and one person was Kalia, the other gopi was dancing on that gopi's head. Next was in the 35th chapter, 35, Yugala Gita. Yugala means pairs, where they were going back and forth, sharing their relationship with Bhagavan Krishna. You got that all? So that's 4. In chapter 39, it is Viraha Gita. Viraha. Viraha means to be separate from. And this Gita specifically is verses 19 to 31. 19 to 31. This is the gopis when they're sensing that Bhagavan Krishna is going to leave. Remember, they all showed up in the morning when that cart was going and they were looking at him. Sorry, it was the evening because the sun drifted into the horizon. That's 5. And now number 6 is Brahmara Gita. And this is from verses 12 to 21, 10 verses. Building up to this, I'm going to share why this gopi is feeling this way. In the morning, when the gopis saw that someone who's not part of this community is here right now, they thought it was Akrura again. Remember, Akrura came and took Bhagavan Krishna to Mathura. They thought he had come back to perform their funerals. He had already taken Bhagavan Krishna. Now he wants to kill them. This is what they thought. When they got closer, they realized this is not an old man, but this person actually looks quite like Bhagavan Krishna. So they were curious about why he's here. And they inferred that Bhagavan Krishna had sent this person as his messenger to comfort them. To comfort them. It's like sometimes when I'm with Puja Guruji and he's tired and he'll go into his room and say, Vivek, entertain everyone. And how disappointed everyone is. Right? So it's like that in a very micro example. So these gopis were not comforted. Conversely, as I read this to you, it's almost like they became quite passive-aggressive. But passive-aggressive in a sattvic way, okay? In a loving way. Here are some of the highlights. They tell Uddhava that Bhagavan Krishna is like a bee. What does a bee do? Sucks the life out of one flower, then goes to another flower and sucks the life out of that flower. He sucked the lives out of us. Now he's in Mathura, sucking the lives out of everyone else there. So more like a vampire, correct? So they're describing Bhagavan Krishna as a bee vampire. See the passive aggressiveness. Then they say, he even seduced Indira. Indira is his wife. Devi Lakshmi, another name of hers, is Indira. It was through his seductive words that she married him. There were many more eligible people to get married to, but it was his charming words by which he seduced her. Next. First, he came here describing himself as Vrajapati, that he is the Lord of Vraja and he will be here forever. But now all of a sudden he is Yadupati. He has no loyalty to us. Now he's become the Lord of the Yadavas living in Mathura. Uddhava, don't be tricked by his lack of loyalty. They're warning him. Next, this is awesome. They share, he killed Vali by hiding behind a tree. This same Bhagavan Krishna, who's 12 years old, they knew he was also Bhagavan Rama, who hid behind a tree to kill Vali. He's the same one who, out of jealousy for Devi Sita, hurt Shurpanakha. He was so attached to Devi Sita that he went and hurt another woman. And they also say he tied up Bali. I think I mixed those up. No, Bali, I'm sorry. Vali, Bali. Remember Raja Bali? He tied up Raja Bali and made him his servant, even though Raja Bali offered everything to him. Again, all passive-aggressive indications of that Bhagavan Krishna has left them and they're not comforted. One more passive-aggressive highlight. He is like a crow. In Hindi, in Indian culture, crows are not very admirable birds. You can describe someone, you can insult someone this week by calling them, hey, crow. Why? And they describe this, that if I'm holding bread in my hand, that crow will peck at the bread and then peck at the hand that's holding that bread. So that's why a crow is an unadmirable bird. And they finish this off by saying, he's not just black outside, he's black inside. That his skin is black, but more so, his heart is black. And all of this negativity is coming out as if. But they finish with a very lovely sentiment. They ask Uddhava, when will we get to smell his hand again? When will we get to smell his hand that always smells like chandan, and the way he used to put it on our heads, the way he used to rub our backs and hold our hands. So that's how Brahmara Gita ends, where they ask him, after listening to Brahmara Gita, Uddhava, who questioned Bhagavan, questioned the gopis, he learned bhakti. In chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna describes the micro. That's you and I. He says, we have a ahankara, we have a buddhi. I'm going to skip the middle. And then he says, we have 10 indriyas. 1, 2, and then he says 10 more. In between there, he uses the word eka. Eka means one. So what part of us is missing? The mind. What Brahmara Gita shows, all of these gopis, they were in samadhi, both as a verb and a noun. As a noun, they're already enlightened. They are Bhagavan Krishna. But here they're showing this as a verb, that throughout their responsibilities, they're always singing about Bhagavan. Uddhava, Sri Uddhava thought that the gopis were these village women, but now he's come to understand they are the greatest of the great. And before he leaves to come back to Mathura, he takes the dust of their feet and puts it on their head. On his head, I'm sorry. Puts it on his own head. That trace of ego in Sri Uddhava, that I am knowledgeable, was erased by these illiterate cow maids. I don't know how to describe it in English. And that's why I began the discourse with the only purushartha in our lives is, or should be, moksha or bhakti. When Srinanda says that we become slower in all we do, why? Because it's not as important. Bhagwan's important. If I become slower in making money, if I become slower in being popular, if I become slower in efficiency, because of I'm becoming more efficient and effective in living for enlightenment, that is the way to follow Dharma. And Bhagwan is only on the side of Dharma. So if we want to be on Bhagwan's side, if we want to be with Bhagwan, we have to live like these gopis, like Srinanda. Uddhava never understood that. Where is he living? In a controlled environment. All of these village people are living in an uncontrolled environment and still more devoted to Bhagwan. Oh.